Welcome to the Wiser Wealth Management Roundtable, where we believe the best financial advice should always be conflict-free. I'm your host, Casey Smith, guiding you to financial freedom. This is my co-host today, Brad Lyons. Hey, Brad.
Hey, Casey.
Today we have a guest in studio with us, Wendy Williams. Hi, Wendy.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Wendy is the owner of Williams Educational Consultants.
Correct.
I have so many questions for you. But we should probably start off with just a base here. We have grandparents probably listening. We have parents listening. Every one of us knows someone in our family that's either getting ready to go to college or has just entered college. And, you know, I have my oldest is 15, my youngest is 9. I do think about it, but I feel like that if they want to go to college, we just fill out an application, we submit it, they say yes or no, and we move on. Maybe have 5 choices or something. It's not that hard, right?
Well, it depends on the family, I guess, right? People do it that way too, and that's okay. You have to do what's best for the family.
But you know, I'm about what's the best process. So maybe I'm thinking about it too simply. So, Wendy, tell me what you do.
Sure.
How can you help me?
So I really help students identify who they are outside the classroom first. We can talk about the classroom all the way through college, obviously, or even graduate school. But ultimately, the world around us, the life we live, is our classroom. And so we need to identify who that student is as an individual, what their interests are, what their passions might be, and understand where can they be the most successful, and then match them to the right academic environment. So as an educational consultant, I specialize in K-12 school placement. I do college admissions, graduate school admissions, and career counseling.
So if I have a child that doesn't quite know what they want to do or what school they want to go to, then your process will take them through that discovery.
Correct.
What the people that come to you, what are they asking for?
Lots of questions they have that need to be answered. They are either anxious about the process, all of it. They don't know what to look for, where to start. They don't know what the student's best needs are, what financially they can afford. So there's just a lot of answers that they need, and they need somebody outside that cannot be a part of the system to say, well, we need to do this for our school. It's more for the family when it comes to my business.
So is this kind of like the eHarmony of college connections? We're trying to find the perfect match?
Yes, it is. You have to have fun with it. We have one life. You've got to have fun with it.
So I really want to focus on the college admissions part. So what is this? What are the steps? So let's say I come to you, I have a child, and I want them to go to college. They're fairly good academically, maybe not top of the class, but fairly good academically. What's the first thing you're going to do with them?
So the first thing I'm going to do with the family is obviously talk about my process and how it works and what the best practices are in college admissions. Second thing I'm going to do is talk with the student. And this is before anybody even signs on with me, because if the student's not invested, it's not the best fit for us. So once we talk with the family and the student and go over exactly what we will be doing if you come freshman year or junior year, then we really start with assessments. So I do the Myers-Briggs career profile, the strong interest inventory college profile, and the 16 PF. That helps me help students understand who they are as an individual, how they react to situations, and what activities they might be involved in already that they enjoy and why they enjoy it so much, or helping them discover other ideas that they never even thought of. So I'm an ESFJ, meaning I like helping others. So I'm in the right profession.
So it's not just about finding a school, it's also about finding what you want to do.
Yes, it is. Very much so. Students leave my practice after they graduate, and they say, I'm going to X university to become a whatever. It's not, I'm just going to study here. It's, these are my plans. They get excited. So that's my goal.
So it's life with a purpose now. They're going there and they have a purpose to be a doctor, be a lawyer, be a counselor, whatever it is that they have discovered.
Correct.
That's very interesting.
And then it's matching the right environment to the student themselves.
Correct.
Right. So it could be whether you want a large college experience or you want a smaller, more intimate college experience. It's matching those two desires together, the career and academic to the environment.
Correct. And you might think to yourself, how in the world could a 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old student know that? Typically, they don't. They need somebody outside of mom and dad to help them engage in this process so they can experience it and have those conversations that can build their next thing. And so that's very helpful for me because there's a need and I provide the answers.
That's interesting. I took something similar in high school. I don't remember what it was. I doubt it was anything Myers-Briggs, but it was something similar, probably a knockoff generic version of it. But I remember specifically that day it came back pilot.
Yes.
And it came back financial advisor.
Right.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Yeah.
So you matched.
So I matched, right? So that's very interesting. And since then, those are the two fields that I've been in, and I find joy in both of them.
I've retaken the Myers-Briggs a number of times, and my MBTI type has not changed. It does not fluctuate for me personally. The heart of the Myers-Briggs are the two letters in between. So, like I said, my type is ESFJ. The SF, when combined, I'm really that extroverted personality with that feeling type. And so I truly want to provide answers and provide a experience that will allow students to really get what they're looking for. And I have students that come in and they want to reach for the stars. I'm not the girl that's going to say, don't do it. We're going to go after it if it's the right fit. So,
you think that colleges would want to do some of this on the front end with freshmen because the dropout rate or the failure rate is so high, right? So you think that they would have want to accept people that have a better vision for what they want, versus just kind of discovering it over 3 years, only to decide that you should have been an education major instead of that math or science major. Right. There's a lot of dads that we could prevent the phone call from, right?
The financial.
Dad, I want to go 4 more years.
Oh, boy. Yes. And that does happen. But there are more and more colleges that are looking at students' essays and their applications to pick up on resilience and grit and motivation to really see who is this student, what character is coming to our campus, character traits, I should say, so that when they're building a campus, they're building one with diversity. And that's something that families don't think about. These admissions people have a really hard job. They've got to create a campus that brings in a lot of different exceptionalities, right? So that you can learn from somebody very different from you. And that is very difficult to do. So
we've covered the kind of the profile of someone coming to you that is trying to discover things, has an open mind. But I'm sure you have also people coming to you. Maybe it's driven by dominant parents that say, we want to be in UGA. What do we have to do to get there?
Right. And that is respectable. Everybody is coming from something. And so if I have a family that's coming in with a particular school in mind, we literally look at what is bringing opportunities for that student and why the parents want that so much for the student, to have those conversations. I don't know about you all, but it's really a great time during this process to sit down and talk to your students about your own college years. What did you enjoy? What did you do wrong? What did you do right? Who did you meet? Not to put that experience onto them, but it just opens up conversations and it levels the playing field a little bit in terms of what they're thinking and what you experienced.
So you mentioned that you work with freshmen. When you sit down with a freshman, I can see the advantages of starting early because you have a clean sheet. You can tell them you need this GPA, where by junior year
it's hard.
It's pretty hard to change it at that point.
Correct.
But what are the advantages, and what are the advantages as a junior?
So starting this process early allows students a longer time to explore. There's over 3,000 colleges in the United States. It would be a really hard thing to do to start with freshman year or junior year to do all of those college campus visits. But by starting early, we can really assess the academics that are involved in different majors. We can look at careers and talk about the majors that really match those different careers. And we can talk about different activities in order to build the resume so that they are exposing themselves to opportunities that could be really good for that college experience. I always tell students, if you're coming freshman year or junior year, you want to make sure that you are doing things that you're excited about. Now, we all in our adult life have things in our work that we don't enjoy. That's just a part of it. But to fill your day with more things that you do enjoy, the better you're going to find your path. So it's really starting early to have those conversations and create opportunities, taking the right classes, connecting with your teachers early, and exploring extracurriculars.
Taking the right classes in high school is such an important aspect as well, because you can, as with the electives that are given to students, they can utilize those to create an academic record for themselves that the college that they're applying to is going to appreciate.
Correct.
At a higher level.
Correct. Or the opposite, they've taken those subjects and realized they really aren't attracted, and we're going to go this way now.
Sure.
So it's good and bad. I always say there's never a bad class. Well, I mean, there could be a bad class, but that bad experience, that could create positive ones. It's all the way that you actually look at it. And so, yes, you are right.
So, next question. The gap year.
Yes.
I'm not sure how I feel about the gap year. I didn't know the gap year was a choice when I was transitioning from high school to college. And I hear about, my son or daughter is going to take a year off before they go to school. And I'm like, in back of my head, I think that seems weak. But then as I have gotten older and talked to other people, I have a lot of clients that took a gap year and went skiing out west for 12 months. And,
right.
There's a former mayor here, Marietta, that told me that he wanted to take his gap year, and his dad would not let him. His dad was a business owner here and is like, nope, you're going to go and get right to work. And that's something that he, I guess, always somewhat regretted. So, but he had a good point. He says you can do a gap year, but you can't get stuck. So if you go out and ski, if you can go do backpack Europe, for 12 months, that's a great experience. Go do that, have a good time, but realize that there's a time for that. Don't keep having a good time, and 5 years later, you're still a ski instructor.
Right.
Right.
And I'm sure that happens.
I'm sure it does. I may have had a lesson from that person a few times. So I've kind of changed my initial reaction to it, but I'd love to know what your opinion is on a gap year. What is that gap year? What is it supposed to look like?
Right. So I think the gap year experience really depends on what the student's motivation is. Why are they taking that gap year? What is calling them to take a year off of starting college and creating other opportunities? A really strong gap year program includes one that has academics, community service, some adventure, obviously, but really tries to help students either explore an interest that they're planning on going to college and studying for, or maybe finding a new one. There are some high school students that can benefit from a gap year just because they need more time. They need
maturity
that
level has to play a role in this as well.
Correct.
And the cost of college is so high that a return on that investment has to happen pretty quickly.
Correct.
So if a student who's just not mature enough, not ready enough to go to college, and they go that first year and you're spending a large sum of money for that, for both academics and living expenses, and they don't perform well, that record stays with them for a very long time.
Yes, there's ways to try and get that record erased, but that costs a lot of money as well. And it can be very detrimental and very hard for students to gain after that experience, which is very unfortunate. There's always opportunities for students to take, a couple of classes just to start with and get those core courses under their belt before they go off to a university of their choice. And there's a lot of different ways to earn your degree. It doesn't have to be the traditional 4-year experience. There's a lot of great programs that have co-op experiences where students can go and work, build their resume, and then take it to the classroom. So there's a lot of opportunities for students these days.
I think on that note, cost of college, a lot of that's been in the headlines. Is a college degree even worth it? Quick example, we have a business not associated with our Wiser company, and we shut it down for COVID, but when I look at that business, we just need to hire people essentially to serve drinks. That's all we needed to do. I had so many college, I'm using air quotes, nobody can see that, college applicants applying for a job that was paying $10 an hour from online degrees. So I think that a college degree is important, and maybe they were the first ones in their family to go and do that. But I just thought to myself in that process, I said, man, I didn't have any Georgia Tech applicants. I didn't have any UGA applicants. It was just your online schools that you hear about advertised on almost all radio stations. Is that a solution? Is that a real solution? Are you getting a real education doing that? Is that a placement thing, or is that more just like a late in life, I always wanted to get a piece of paper that said I had a 4-year degree thing?
I think it depends on the student who's going through that educational experience. For me personally, clients that walk through my door, I'm trying to create and help them create their own academic experience that allows them to leave the nest, to learn how to wake up on their own, maybe do their laundry, be responsible for their financials, to meet new people, to really have adult conversations. School is not just about big parties and football. Right. It's a great time. And, I think that experience speaks for itself, but it's about the relationships. It's the connections. That is what's really important in face-to-face education. And I think just because of COVID alone, we are seeing issues with not having that opportunity.
True.
It's so important to try and match your own skill sets and capabilities with a career choice. And it's not uncommon for someone who, and we talked about this, a 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old young person to make a wrong choice about a career for a 35, 45, 55-year-old adult.
Right.
So it's not unusual that some people think they have that college degree, but it's a bad fit for them and who they are and what their capabilities are, and they never quite really get the footing in a career in a manner to which they want to live their life.
Right. Well, and I tell students that these days you're not going to be in one career for the rest of your life. Your grandparents or great-grandparents who were bankers or who worked at, Riches, you're not that lifestyle. Today, you're going to have a lot of different career opportunities. And so by understanding what their interests are, we have themes. The Strong Interest Inventory looks at 6 occupational themes, and you typically have 2 or 3 that when you combine them, bring up a wealth of opportunity for different careers. And so we're not saying, Bob needs to be a doctor. We are saying, and by we, I mean I, that what I'm seeing is that there's a real passion for science. And so just to get into that cloud, that theme, and learn more of what that can bring to your son or daughter, that's what the goals are. It's not saying you're going to be a lawyer. We all know you don't even go to college to become a lawyer. You could go into humanities. You could go into politics. You could go into biology or chemistry. There's a lot of different pathways these days. So it truly is important to look at those themes and how to interconnect them. A lot of students don't know that different careers exist. You take the law, you take the medical and, education, but they don't know you could combine them and create a whole new world out there. There are more careers coming at us, especially with the virtual scene that we are in. We don't even know what's coming out there tomorrow. So you just have to identify what those disciplines are. What do you really like studying? That's what's important in terms of the academics. Then you've got the social piece and the location. You've got the hot weather, the cold weather. You've got big versus small. Students don't really know what that's like until they get on campus. And pre-COVID, it was much easier to get on campus and sit in on a class taught by a professor of your discipline interest, eating the cafeteria food, having a sleepover with somebody that is hosting you on campus. There's been some great stories and some bad stories about that in my experience, but ultimately that can be very helpful. Looking in the library, seeing what that's like, just experiencing those life activities that happen on campus. That's important.
Which is a great segue to another question I have: campus visits. So we were in Winston-Salem over the summer, and for one of my son's golf tournaments, and so we go see Wake Forest. And basically, the COVID tour of Wake Forest is you don't talk to anybody and you just walk around, look at the buildings, but don't dare touch anything.
Right. Yes. And
it was very lonely. In fact, we ran into a janitor who talked to us for almost an hour. So we ended up getting a full tour, a verbal tour from a very lonely janitor. Hadn't seen anybody in probably months.
I don't know that that's a bad idea. Janitors would make great.
That's true.
Campus tour guides.
We got the inside scoop for sure. But I know things are a little different now. I haven't done a tour yet, but what are your suggestions right now? How do we do that?
So, I have seen over 350 colleges, and due to COVID, I've seen a whole lot more to add to that because of all the virtual tours that have taken place. Students don't enjoy the virtual tours, but for right now, what we can do is we can see what the grounds look like. We can hear students that are on campus, what their experiences have been through a lot of different online programs. So virtually looking online is awesome. And even before the COVID happened, I would tell students, you want to go straight to the website. You want to comb through it. It's almost like reading everything that you can to understand what is important to that school. And then when you get on that campus tour, you will have real questions to ask. Not how many students attend or what the female-male ratio is or your top majors, but real questions. What are alumni doing? How are you bringing in entertainment? What opportunities for co-ops are available? Talking about study abroad experiences. So looking online has always been important prior to the campus tours. And I know that.
Now, when you say a virtual campus, is this something that the schools are preparing and you watch it online? Or are you talking about like Google Maps walking the streets?
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of different programs out. Google Maps you can do. You can try and get on campus and do that. But the admissions, when COVID hit, they did an amazing job across the country to create virtual experiences. And, I told students, they have an opportunity of a lifetime because COVID, a silver lining with one thing for me, you really, as a student, have an opportunity to get to know your admissions person. They're not traveling right now. They're not busy at high schools talking with students. They're on a computer screen waiting for you to chime in and ask questions and have connections. So a lot of admissions reps love what they do because of their exposure to young people and to try and, of course, sell their school. But
Right.
it's a great opportunity for you to have face-to-face time with that individual and get to know them.
In addition, you're able to get a very good idea of what schools that are a long distance away are that you wouldn't normally have gotten to do because just the distance to have covered it to go for a campus visit several states away, for example,
Right.
may not have worked out for you. Here you can do it virtually, get a real good idea, like it, don't like it, fit it somewhere.
Right. I agree. And on the admissions side, there used to be an opportunity if students came and visited, it would show how interested a family really is. So if someone's flying to California to see University of Southern California, then they've got to be interested if they're coming from Georgia. But today, you don't have to do that. You can show interest in another way, which saves families time and money.
We like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, not really on our topic agenda today, but I'm sure people are going to be asking this, is the cost of education, paying for education. I assume that this is something that you screen. The family says, look, we're Hope only, we're Zell only.
Yes.
Then that's going to limit us to Georgia. And although I've heard other neighboring states are offering in-state
tuition.
Is that a real thing?
It is a real thing. It is.
Is it specific schools are doing it, or is it pretty common that all the big schools are doing it?
It is not a specific school. It's specific programs. And so it's the academic common market. If Georgia does not have a major that the student is interested in, but LSU has it, and there's a whole lot of stuff in between that they have to agree on, right, between LSU and Georgia. Students can go to that school for in-state tuition. So it's the academic common market. There's not a ton of opportunity unless you're into engineering, and there's some agriculture. I mean, there are opportunities, but
in
it's
Georgia,
not everything.
what degree would not be offered at UGA? I feel like they have everything there.
So South Carolina, University of South Carolina has retail merchandise. I think it's retail merchandise or retail management. There's a specific program where students can go to South Carolina for in-state tuition.
Okay.
There's different things in.
Do you have to be able to be accepted into UGA or a state school otherwise?
No, it's got nothing to do with our
nothing
state.
to do with
No,
it.
you have to be accepted and declared that major of interest at that university. Once
Okay.
you've been admitted and you have that acceptance letter with that program, then you have some things to do on our side for the state of Georgia.
Okay.
But not an actual university. So it is a great program.
So we don't have like Alabama saying, hey, we'll give you in-state tuition if you come here.
No. But we do have stuff at Auburn.
Okay.
For junior and seniors. And I say no to Alabama. There could be some graduate programs.
Okay.
So it's not just undergraduate. It is a long list, but it's very specific. And you have to know you want something.
That major.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's really important. But other than that, there's tons of scholarship opportunities within the university system. That's where you get the most bang for your pocket when it comes to monies. And so, obviously that high school GPA, that's really important. There's different activities that, you might be taking part in, like Eagle Scouts, or maybe there's something to do with Civil Air Patrol, or maybe it's golf. There are scholarships out there for these activities. So there are opportunities for students, even at smaller liberal arts schools. They give a lot of money. but you have to show that interest and really make sure that you're applying to those scholarships. A lot of colleges take your application and will run through that merit-based program. And once you're accepted, if you do get that admissions, then you might get a great package too. So even though students and families are unsure of filling out the FAFSA or the CSS profile, I always recommend it because you don't know and you just want to take every opportunity that you can. So it's just important to look at everything in this process.
So we've had to undo some financial planning over the last 6 months. We've had people come to us saying, I met with a college expert, and they're telling us that in order to get best financially qualified, we have to buy a whole life policy in order to shelter some money so we can get more in aid. And I just want to say to our listeners that's very unlikely the case. It's more like they're trying to sell you a very expensive product. We've did the math on that for several clients that have come through, and very interestingly, if you did the process, you probably saved $600 a year in college, and you spent thousands and thousands of dollars locking up your money into a whole life policy. So there are some bad actors in our field that are taking advantage of this college, but you don't do any of that. You're not selling any financial products. You are literally a placement consultant to help people discover what it is that they want and then help show them how to achieve it. And
Correct.
Then some people may come to you who already know where they want to go, and you help them give them a blueprint for that.
Correct.
And then we didn't really touch on it, but I'm sure we have parents that are insisting that their child be a lawyer or a doctor, and the child secretly probably has no aspirations for that. I guess that's where your counseling background has to kick in.
Yes.
And tell parents to back off a little bit. You have an artist, not a doctor.
Yep. So, I mean, I think that for the families that the parents have an idea for the student, they know their child. They want typically what's best for their child.
Right.
And so when asked by strangers, well, who hires you? How do you get your clientele? Well, I've never advertised. I am only word of mouth. I've had over 1,000 families walk through my door. And I actually believe the success for me has been that helping these families stay strong and open communication doors and understand one another through this process has been amazing for the entire unit. So my role is really to mentor and guide on both sides, the parent and the student. There are times when I have to tell the student, you have to understand what your mom and dad are trying to do for you. And then on the other side, you have to understand that your child is stressed out.
Right.
So, it's that fine balance that we have to finely tune.
Some of the stories I'm hearing from high schoolers right now it sounds like college.
It
Staying
is.
up till 2:00 in the morning, writing papers, taking super high level classes. It's a real shame. I feel like that it's too much too soon, but it's also a very competitive market.
It is a competitive
especially
market.
in the state of Georgia.
Yes.
Very competitive to get to the bigger schools.
Yes.
So you got to put in the work.
If you want it.
Yeah.
And you have to see how much do you want something. That's where students fall.
True.
Well, they also need to know that there are many pathways to the same end. Mm-hmm. Okay, especially here in Georgia. The Zell Miller Scholarship, the Hope Scholarship, has created a higher demand for in-state students probably than prior to that. What students can learn is that even if they don't get into their first choice in Georgia, after the first year, with appropriate grades, a student can apply to any other state university.
Right.
And get
Transferring
in.
is not difficult.
Right.
As long as you've done the work and you do well in your program that you're currently in, transferring is very easy. It's much simpler than the actual high school to college process. And one thing we haven't spoken about are the actual applications, the essays, the Common App versus the Coalition versus the Universal Application versus Georgia Futures. I mean, there is so much out there in terms of just how to apply to a university. That is overwhelming in itself. And so, yes, to your point, transferring, always an option. But I always tell families, if we can find a fit for the first semester and the student is happy, the second semester will be even better. And then it just adds to that program. But I've had many people who have wanted Georgia, did not get into Georgia. We took a step back and we found another option, and then we transferred into Georgia.
Yep. I know a lot of Georgia Tech people. Same way.
Same way.
Yeah. All right, Wendy, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
You can learn more about her at williamseducational.com. That's williamseducational.com. And continue the conversation there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wiser Wealth Management Incorporated is a registered investment advisor. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor and/or tax professional before implementing any strategy discussed herein. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.